Hey everyone, it's a beautiful fall day here on Thanksgiving long weekend, and I've decided to come outside and record the answers to the factoring section of test number 3. Just note, I'm not going to be looking at factors and products of whole numbers or multiplying polynomials, so we'll only be taking a look at the factoring section here. So, here we go. Okay, so here's the first page of factoring. Let's just zoom right in here on the top right and get to work on that question. So, first thing I should ask myself in every factoring question is, are there common factors? Okay, so looking at this first question, I do see that there is something common. There's an A that's common. There's also a B that's common. And some of you might have noticed, hey, wait a minute, there's even more that's common. There's 3 A's that are common, and there's 2 B's that are common, and that's right. So that happens to be our greatest common factor of the 3 terms. So we'll pull that out, and we'll say that this is equal to A cubed times B squared times 5B squared minus 7A cubed B cubed plus 4A. Okay? And in fact, we're done. This trinomial that I have over here is not of the form ax squared plus bx plus c like we've seen before. And in fact, there's nothing more that I can do there. So we're done, and there's our answer. Scrolling over, here's our next question. Well, this one is actually what we called a simple trinomial. Simple not because it's easy, but because there's only one x squared out front. So we actually can jump to an answer here. We know that to get an x squared, we multiplied x times x. And now we just have to fill in the blanks. I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me this negative 8, but when added together will give me 2. And in fact, if you think about it for a little while, you might find the 2 numbers are positive 4 and negative 2. I'm not going to do a check on all of the problems here, but let's just check this one and see that it worked. Okay? So to check, you just multiply it all out. So here we go. X times x gives me x squared. X times negative 2 gives me negative 2x. 4 times x gives me 4x. And negative 2 times 4 gives me negative 8. Combine these middle 2 terms together, and we end up with x squared plus 2x minus 8. If I had a better pen, that would all make sense. All right? Hey, look, it checked out. Okay, as I said, we're not going to be doing the checks for all of these, but that's what you would do in order to check each and every one of your answers. Let's continue. Hey, next problem. Okay, so this one, oh, there's some birds in the background I think you can hear. There's a woodpecker there too. Okay, let's see. Oh boy, what is this? What's going on here? Well, you may recall that there is something out there called a difference of, man, I got to replace my pen, of squares. Okay, I'm going to go SQ for squares because it's just a terrible pen. All right, we actually see that this is a square minus a square. Really, you say? How could this be? Well, 16x to the power of 6 is a square. It's actually 4x cubed squared. 25y squared is itself a square because that's 5y squared. So we have, in our actual question up here, a square minus a square. That's a difference of squares. Let's answer this. A difference of squares, we can actually jump to a final answer right away. We know that there's going to be 2 binomials. The leading term of both binomials will be the root of the first square, and the second term will be the root of the second term. And what do I put in between? Well, the sum of the roots and the difference of the roots is what we need. Okay, if you multiplied that out, guess what? It'll work out. Try that at home. Moving on. Hey, this one looks kind of tough. 5t squared minus 10t minus 120. But wait, what am I supposed to do first? Okay, I'm supposed to look for common factors. Can you see a common factor in this case? Well, let's see. 5t squared minus 10t minus 120. Well, 5t 10, and 120 are all divisible by 5. This is my common factor, which I will pull out first. So this gives me 5 times, let's see, 5 times t squared gives me 5t squared. 5 times negative 2t gives me negative 10t, yeah. And 5 times, oh, I got to think about this one, negative 24 gives me negative 120. You might need to do some rough work on the side for that one, if you can't do it in your head. Okay, now that I'm done pulling out the common factor, I'll leave it where it is. And now we just have to ask ourselves, can you factor what's left over here, this t squared minus 2t minus 24? Hey, look, it's another one of those simple trinomials that we saw above. Okay, so I know it's going to, if it has factors, it's of the form t plus a number times t plus another number. Well, what are those two constants then? What are those two numbers that we're going to throw in there? Well, I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 24, but when added together, give me negative 2. Okay, so let's see, I have two numbers that multiply to give you negative 24, but those same two numbers when added together give me negative 2. Okay, now this is a long process of guessing and checking here for some, so let's see, you just actually start with the number 1. Well, 1 times 24, or negative 1 times 24 will give us negative 24. That difference is like 23. That's way too much. Okay, so 2 times 12 gives us 24, so one of them would be negative. The difference is not even close to 2. 3 times 8, the difference is 5. Hey, wait a minute. Negative 4 times 6. Now, 4 times 6 gives us 24, so negative 4 times positive 6 gives us negative 24. But if I add those together, I actually get positive 2. Now this tells me that I'm on the right track. So in fact, if I took negative 6 times positive 4, and I would get negative 24, but if I add negative 6 plus positive 4, I get negative 2. So there and there. And that's my final answer. Let's move on. Hey, wait a minute. I think we've seen one of these before. This is what we were calling a difference of squares. I have a square, x squared, and I have another square, 81. And I've got their difference. So I can write out two factors. The first term of each factor will be the square root of the first term of the difference of squares. And the second term of each factor will be the square root of the second square. Toss a plus and a minus in there, and you're done. Why don't you multiply that out on your own here and see that that actually will give you x squared minus 81. Okay, and the last one on this page, 3x squared plus 11x minus 4. Okay, this is what we call a complex trinomial. A complex trinomial is complex not because it's difficult, but because there is a 3 or 2 or 5 or anything other than 1 x squared out front. Okay. Now we've learned a couple techniques for dealing with this. One of them we call decomposition, and the other, which I'm going to use right now, is just guessing and checking. And the reason why we can use a guess and check method is because these are nice low numbers, and so we can make an educated guess. Well, the first thing I'll notice is that the first two terms of each of the binomials will have to multiply to give me 3x squared. Well, that's only going to be 3 and 1. That's the only possibility. So I've got half of my guess in place. Now I need two numbers over here and over here that multiply to give me negative 4. And then once I've found those two numbers, I need to check and see if multiplying this back out gives me plus 11x. Okay? So I'm going to take a pretty good guess to start off here this time. I'm going to put in a plus 4 and a minus 1. Okay? But just because I know that that's the right answer because I've got the answer key in front of me, doesn't mean I should stop here. I should actually check this. So that's the second half of our guess and check. So if I go ahead and check this, okay, what I'm really checking is the middle term. Because 3x times x we already know is going to be 3x squared. There will be two middle terms, and then 4 times negative 1, well, that's negative 4. We knew that that was going to work out. But what happens in the middle? Well, 3x times 4 gives me 12x. And negative 1 times x gives me negative x. Hey. Add those two middle terms, 12x minus x, and guess what? You get 11x. Okay, so in the guess and check, we guess, then we check. That's the 2 steps. Okay, so that's it for the first of the 2 pages of factoring. There it is in total, eh? I'm going to ask you if you want to try the second half now that you've seen the first half. Pause the video now and then start again in a moment, because what I'm going to do in one moment here in the video is just flip to that page and immediately show you what all the answers will be. So you don't want that if you want to try it. Okay, so pause now. All right, welcome back from pausing. Here is the back page of your test with all the complete answers. Notice I've got a note in blue next to each one of them, whether or not it's a complex trinomial, simple trinomial, common factor, or difference of square kind of question, so that you can look this up later on. Okay, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact myself or any of your teachers that are out there for pre-cal. And also keep in mind that you have other options out there to help you along, like the peer tutoring program. People are available Wednesdays in the first thing in the morning, and also usually every lunch hour you can find one of us floating around somewhere. Okay, I hope everyone's doing well, and good luck next time we take a look at factoring.